Today I'm very excited to be visiting the gardens of our director and videographer, Kevin Gragg. We all know his fine work behind the camera, but he's also a magnificent gardener. Well, Kevin, welcome to the other side of the lens.
Ooh, Alice, behind the looking glass. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I'm sure it is, yeah. I really admire your passion for plants, and you have such an artistic eye that you create these really magnificent beds, and it's been fun to watch them grow and grow and grow.
Yes, they
over
do
the past
kind
few
of
years.
multiply because you run out of space, and then you just got to move it a little bit out, make it a little bit bigger.
Make the bed bigger, add a new bed. That's
Add a
kind
new
of
bed,
Kevin's
yes.
pattern. And this bed is the first thing everybody sees when they come in here, and I feel like
Right.
you garden this area as much for the neighborhood as you do for yourself.
Yes, it pretty much faces away from the house. I do enjoy coming down the road and you see it. It started out kind of organically, like most of the beds do, and it, had a couple of little plants by the sign and pulled those out, put those somewhere else, put a bird of paradise, and then just started growing a little bit bigger. And since it is out here, it doesn't get a lot of attention, so most all of this stuff is low water, low maintenance, natives mostly. But yeah, I love it to death.
And neighbors always stop and ask you, what's this
Yes.
plant, what's this plant?
Yes, the neighbors stop, they want to know what something is. The swamp sunflower, the narrow-leaf sunflower is one of the ones that they just always are questioning.
Oh, it's so showy in the fall. I'm sure it gets a lot
Right.
of attention.
And then the lead plant that is a little bit out of scale because I put it there to kind of get it out of the way before I plant it somewhere else, and found out that it has a huge taproot that goes in about
Yeah.
a year, and so that's where it will be.
It doesn't want to be moved very well.
No, it doesn't want to be moved.
Excellent. One of these expansions of your garden was for your lovely wife, Fran.
Yes, Fran mentioned she would like to have some more herbs, so we had a small little bed as it was, and then this year it quadrupled in size, and so we put some things, and then we, I love, especially with herbs, there's just a natural junk garden thing that goes with herbs, so we put an old wheelbarrow, and then my folks had a hamburger stand, so we put some fry baskets in one side, and just kind of herbs and junk kind of go together.
Well, as we walk through your garden, we'll see a lot of those little pieces of
Yes,
Kevin.
yes.
There's a whole lot of character here.
Well, thanks.
One of the gardens I feel maybe was inspired a little bit by one of our past theme gardens is your little Jurassic garden. Let's go
Very much so,
take a
very
look.
much so.
I guess I call this your Jurassic garden because of that sago palm.
Very much so. It just really has that, Jurassic Park, our old Jurassic garden with the Brontosaurus that was so much fun. And so this thing is definitely not hardy for us.
Right.
I just scoop it up, put it in the garage every year, and let it sit, and then bring it back out the next year.
I know your garden or your garage fills up quite
Yes,
full. You have
it
a few
fills
things
up.
in here.
Jurassic kale or coelacanth is another one that I really like, and it I dig up every year, put in the garage, and usually have pups that then come out, and then I plant the pups the next year. And so this garden is kind of a guilty pleasure. It takes a little bit more water, but it's a nice small garden, and so I can give it a little bit more water and not have to waste a lot at the same time. So it's, like I said, it's kind of one of those that every year I think, well, I'll do something different with this garden. And every year it goes right back to the same thing because it's so much fun.
It is, and it's always it's very welcoming, right,
Oh, yes.
as you come into the house.
Right.
Kevin, you have a number of delightful little spaces in here, your Japanese garden and what you call your thinking spot.
Yes, we have the thoughtful spot,
thoughtful spot.
that when we came to the house, there wasn't really anything here, and there was this one area that no grass would grow. It just was kind of dead, and our son actually said, it looks like a nice little thoughtful spot. And so we turned it into this little, what we call an oasis, the kind of sit and hang out and wave at the neighbors as they walk by.
It's a wonderful place to relax in the
Yes,
evening.
yes.
And of course, more plant collections, and a lot of these have some stories. Let's go look
All
at
right.
some of those. Kevin, we were talking earlier about plants that you've brought back from different places as you traveled, and we called them remember-alls.
Remember, kind of like, Harry Potter, to where to me, so many things in the garden, you have, a garden really reflects your personality.
Absolutely.
If you like to get out and work in the garden. So you have, things that remind you of things. Whether it's, I've got, a brick from Jamestown, New York, one of my favorite little towns in the United States. Same way for plants, to where as we traveled, I've been doing the show for almost 14 years now. So there's memories that we collect throughout the landscape. In the back, we've got a cactus that you and I got plants, and Laura Payne got plants given to us by the prison in Cushing. And it's kind of a special plant because these guys propagated it and then gave it to us, and it was very special to them. And so it reminds me of that particular shot. The Amsonia is just, one of my favorite plants.
I love the texture
there
of this
are.
plant.
And this whole plant came from the garden, and it was about an inch high. And I was helping weed the garden, and so part of the thing about weeding is that you pull the things that aren't supposed to be there, but sometimes they're things that you want to put somewhere else.
Yeah, you get to bring them home once
And
in a while.
so another plant is back in here behind this thing is kind of interesting. It's the absinthe
Wormwood.
Artemisia.
Artemisia.
Artemisia. And so it's one that I planted from seed as kind of like you say, a plant collection, fun little experiment. But behind it is a little desert willow, and this we got whenever we went to Cedar Valley.
I remember that. We all brought one home. Mark West was so generous in sharing those with us.
And so it ties into Mark, which was a student that worked out at the gardens, and so it's kind of a neat tie into that remembral of Mark and his endeavors since being part of Oklahoma gardening. This is one of my favorite plants.
This is beautiful.
This daylily is a one of a kind. It was originally a seedling that came out of Leonard Miller, the originator and founder of Lindenwood Gardens in Grove. This was in his path at his house. Well, we were shooting, and he said, "Hey, you want that?" And I went, "Sure." So I dug it up, and I got this beautiful daylily that's
absolutely gorgeous.
Since it's a seedling, it's a one of a kind.
It is.
And I guess one other one to touch on is I've got this smoke tree that got whenever we were shooting at Steve Biebrick's place in Clinton. And I really enjoy Steve Biebrick. He's such a treasure to the state as far as knowledge of trees.
Absolutely.
And just but he had to go off somewhere, and his daughter was taking us around, and she said, "Well, you can look at these plants in here. These are ones that he's been collecting, and I really love to get rid of because they're just a bunch of things that he's playing with." And I saw the smoke tree, and I was like, "Hey, how about this smoke tree?" And she goes, "You want to buy it?" And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay, sure." And so it's kind of one of those sneaky little things that Steve will see this now and come and dig it out of my yard.
That's where it went.
Yeah, that's where it went. And so I think, I see that tree and I think of Steve, who, I really
Wonderful
like and
plants.
respect. Yes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's all about coming out here and enjoying having spaces to sit down for me and look out at the plants and watch them change. I love perennials more than annuals because they change over time, and you get to see that change, and they're like old friends.
And the way you've designed your beds so well that the beds themselves change as one thing comes into bloom and shifts.
Right. And then, it's like one of the guys we shot with, Dr. Dirt in Mississippi, said, "You got to be careful, never cup your hands around the real gardener or he may plant something in it." So any little spot, so that way
I think that's very true of your
Yeah.
landscape. Before we leave, do you have a favorite plant or space you want to share?
Couple of things in the back is I was inspired whenever we did the rain garden last year. I had this space that was kind of problematic, so my son and I went in, excavated, and we didn't do the same kind of rain garden with a liner, but we actually built a rain garden with kind of a big soaker hose in it. And so we're still seeing, we're hoping for some rain to see how it really works.
But yeah, you've used that to
right.
fix a problematic drainage problem.
Right. And so even people that are associated with the show find things from the show
Absolutely.
to be able to use. And
I
then,
adopt them all the time.
right. And so then I guess one other area that I like is just this area of fence that looks right out of the sliding doors in our living room. And so it's just it's nothing fancy, but it's a bunch of plants, once again, perennials that always something blooming. And whenever we're inside, getting out of the heat, it gives us that view into the garden.
Well,
So,
it's another one of those beautiful canvases you've painted
Well,
with
well,
plants.
thanks,
So,
thanks.
thank you so much for sharing, and
Well-
I'm glad our viewers got to get to know you a little bit better.
oh, great, thanks.